Here at Spoonful of Strength, we want to make this podcast interactive. We want to hear your stories and we want you involved in our conversations. Follow Spoonful of Strength on Instagram, where we will post questions throughout the week. Your answers may be shared on our podcast. Do you have a story to share? Send us a message on Spoonful of Strength on Instagram with your health journey, and we may interview you on this show. Welcome to Spoonful of Strength, a podcast for people with chronic illness and the ones who love them, where we talk all things chronic. Here's your host, Rachel and Tina. Welcome to Spoonful of Strength. We're glad to have you here today. Tina, how's your week been?
It has not been too bad of a week so far. How about yours? I know you've got a lot going on right now.
I've had a few rough days. I kind of wore myself out at, I had my son's graduation open house and had that on Saturday. You know, that took a lot of work and everything, but I'm just mentally struggling a little bit. I've got surgery scheduled for next month for my shoulder. I have a torn rotator. I guess the labrum is torn, and looking at recovery for that looks a little bit different for me now as it may have been, 4 or 5 years ago. When you have bad balance and you use a cane on your left side and you're having surgery on your left shoulder and you're going to be in a sling for anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, kind of throws your balance off quite a bit. And so there's a lot of talk about my mobility and how am I going to manage, am I going to need a electric wheelchair to get through those weeks? And so there's just a lot of things going on with mobility and some conversations that I've been having. So just a lot. We all go in those stages of just having times where things are a little bit tougher, and that's where I'm at right now. But I am excited to interview Rocio today. Now she comes from Madrid, Spain, and just a lovely, lovely woman. I'm really excited to talk to her. I've been chatting with her a little bit on Instagram, and she's going to talk about her discovery of Sjogren's. And she's going to walk us through her first symptoms and how she was diagnosed, and even going through pregnancy with a diagnosis of Sjogren's. So let's go ahead and bring her in. Let's welcome Rocio.
Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to talk a little bit about your diagnosis with Sjogren's. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sure. I was born in Galicia, in the north of Spain. I lived there in a very small village. I studied business administration. When I was 24, I moved to Madrid with my partner, now my husband. We had known each other in the high school. We have a son who is turning 3 years old in July. Now I work in finance and human resources. I like writing, especially poems. I like reading, and I am studying executive and life coaching now because I really like it, and I would like to help people in the future using coaching techniques. And also I am discovering coaching is very useful for autoimmune people.
So when did you start to notice early symptoms of Sjogren's?
I was always ill. Bronchitis, pneumonia, joint pain. When I finished the degree and I began to work with computers, I started suffering keratitis, cornea wounds. Also, I had a pleural effusion when I was 22, probably due to stress. Furthermore, I suffered parotitis sometimes. They did not know it could be salivary glands atrophy, a common symptom in Sjogren. No doctor related it with Sjogren at that time, or at least they did not tell me. Once in Madrid, when I moved to Madrid in 2010, I was working in an audit multinational company. I was very stressed at work and I began to feel very bad with paralysis and rigidity in the morning and joint pain. I went to my first rheumatologist in November 2010, and I had a blood antibody test, and I was diagnosed with Sjogren.
And what type of tests were done to reach that diagnosis?
First of all, I had different blood tests. Blood tests to determine if I have antibody known as anti-Ro, anti-LA, or anti-DNA. Blood tests to determine how factor rheumatoid was, and the same with C-reactive protein. About dry symptoms, I had my eyes checked with a Skirmer test. I had my saliva checked with salivary scan. I had some ultrasound to see parotid glands. And finally, gastro tests like gastroscopic to see if I had gastritis and reflux. And of course, I had it.
What are the normal symptoms of Sjogren's?
Dryness. Normally, when you have Sjogren's, you feel fatigue, dryness, joint pain. Your mucous membranes are dry. It's an autoimmune. Sjogren's is an autoimmune and systemic and rheumatic disease. It can affect also important organs like lungs or liver. It depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
So you received your diagnosis in 2011. How did you handle that diagnosis mentally?
I felt extremely bad. At that time, I didn't know how to manage emotions. I felt so sad. I only spoke about that with my husband and not a lot. I had, before that, I ever tried to keep everything to myself, and with my mother and my brother, I tried to fake I was okay. Even on a sick leave, I traveled to my hometown, to Galicia, as if nothing had happened, as if Sjogren's is invisible. You look good. So with friends, I told them I had Sjogren, but like it wasn't so important to me. At that time, I did not ask for a therapist help. I decided to join the Spanish Sjogren Association, who has helped me since ever. And thanks them, in 2019, finally I went to my first psychotherapist to manage this life and these emotions with Sjogren. Meeting people with Sjogren has helped me feeling less lonely, as I can share my emotions with people who feel the same.
When you were diagnosed with Sjogren's, then is that did they put you on medicine for that, or what sort of therapies do they give you for that?
Yes, a lot of medicines. In the beginning, I took a lot of medicines. Corticoids is the most are the most power medicines I have ever used, and also anti-inflammatory pills. First year, I took a chemo known. I don't know if you know methotrexate is known.
Mm-hmm.
It's an immunosuppressive, which was very bad to me. It affected my mucous membranes and my stomach. I lost weight. I was very sad. I decided to quit it. They offered me biologics, and I said no for years. It wasn't until 2017 I agreed to take hydroxychloroquine, but I wasn't really aware whether it was working or not. In the end, I kept taking it because I knew it would be necessary during pregnancy. So far, I haven't found any medicine which is really good for my dryness and fatigue. And maybe is it me? I don't know. But in my case, I don't trust a lot in these medicines. Normally, they are medicines for illness like lupus, not Sjogren's.
That's frustrating.
It's really frustrating.
We thought we'd take a brief pause in our podcast
to enjoy what I call a mini mindful moment. Now, mindfulness is, if you're not familiar with the concept, that is the practice of just being present in this particular moment in time. We're not thinking about things that have happened in the past. We're not thinking of things that are coming up. We're simply in this here and now. So I encourage you to join us on a little mindful moment here as I guide you through how to quiet your mind. One of my favorite techniques of that is simply become focused on my breath. So if you settle in, close your eyes, try to quiet your mind, and simply focus on taking a nice deep breath in through your nose, feeling it all the way down from your diaphragm all the way up, and hold it. And then release that breath through the mouth. One big, long breath out. And there should be no other thoughts going through your mind. Just simply focus on breathing in. Nice deep breath in through the nose and hold it. And deep breath out through your mouth, releasing all that tension in your body. Feeling yourself connected to nothing more than your body and your mind. You hear any outside noises, just simply push them away. Only concentrate on that breath. Deep breath in, hold it, and a nice long breath out. And if you find your mind starting to wander, just bring it back to focusing on nothing more than the process of those deep breath in all the way through the very bottom of your pit of your stomach, all the way up into your lungs. Nice and deep breath, and hold it. And a nice deep breath out. Simply quieting your mind and focusing only on those nice deep breaths in and a long breath out. And then take just a couple seconds, a few more breaths on your own. I won't guide you through these. If you find your mind starting to wander, just bring it right back to just focusing on the breath and nothing more. Give you a couple seconds to do a few deep breaths. And on your last exhale, nice deep exhale, and open your eyes and come back to the present moment and join us back on the remainder of our podcast. Many of us end up receiving a secondary diagnosis of other illnesses. Did you receive any other diagnosis besides the Sjogren's?
Not yet. Hopefully will not happen. Only during my search for pregnancy, I was diagnosed by the gynecologist with 5 latent thrombophilia factor, an inherited blood clotting disorder that raises the risk of the vein thrombosis or a pulmonary embolism. Some doctors said it could predispose miscarriages. But it's only it was a surprise to discover that.
Yeah. So you have a blog, and one of the blogs that I read talked about techniques that help you live with your illness. So can you share some of those techniques with us?
Yes, I nowadays I try to focus on the things I can do. I show gratitude every day. I say thank you to all the things I have. For example, if today I have sore eyes, I tell myself, okay, but what else can I do? Maybe today I can't read, but I can listen to a podcast, for example, or I can walk, or I can eat. Focus on the things I can. I use meditation tools, apps, books, and I stop minutes a day to breathe. I use every day the 4-7-8 breathing technique, and I go to a psychotherapist now. In 2019, at last, I began with psychotherapist, and I go on with that. I don't compare to anybody in this with this illness. You know, people who is much better than you or much worse than you. It's important. No compare.
Mhm.
I eat anti-inflammatory foods, less gluten, less lactose, less sugar, in order to feel better. And I manage my energy at work and at home, resting when I need. I work now only 6 hours a day because I have a little child. And after that, I try resting before taking him from nursery school. And I write. I write a lot. I love writing. I write poetry to heal, to order my feelings. I write a gratitude diary, and I focus on the things I like. I'm, I every day look for the beauty of the things in order to give me more happiness with all of this.
It's really important. Do you have a good support system in your family and friends?
My husband is really nice and understanding, and above all, he has shown a lot of patience. It was very difficult in the beginning, as I was 27 years old when I was diagnosed. He supports me. He knows I need to rest sometimes. He's a good father to my son and a fantastic partner. In the end, we had to agree that if we become parents of a child, I would need a lot of help from him. The norm, and it's fantastic now. He's a good father. About my friends, they try to be considerate with my situation. Sometimes they don't ask, maybe they don't know how to speak about that. As Sjogren is chronically uninvisible, I think they forget I am ill. So normal is difficult. Normally, if they say, "How are you?" I say, "I'm fine, thanks." If they don't ask about my illness, I don't. I try not to speak about that. Only with very close friends. And now with autoimmune friends, thanks to social media, I have known autoimmune people. Now they are my autoimmune friends.
Mhm.
And my tribal autoimmune friends, as I said, and with them I can speak openly about how I feel, like they understand.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard with, friends that don't have an autoimmune disorder for them to really understand. And that's why one of the reasons why we wanted to do this is to create a community, because it is easier to talk to somebody who's been through it versus, somebody who has no idea what you're going through every day. So now you decided to start a family after your diagnosis. So did you have any concerns in regards to your illness and being pregnant?
Yes, since I was diagnosed with Sjogren, I knew pregnancy would be an issue to me. I knew from the 18th week to the 38th week, we have to review my son's heart due to my antibodies anti-raw. They could affect his heart. So living a pregnancy with this uncertainty, it was really traumatic. I did not know I could suffer more problems. I didn't expect having hyperemesis gravidarum, vomiting until 25 week. I still had PTSD, post-traumatic stress about that. Fortunately, my son was born healthy. He had antibodies until he turned 9 months old.
So after you initially decided to start a family, you within 4 months you had actually gotten pregnant initially, and unfortunately had a miscarriage with that. How did you handle that miscarriage?
It was a very hard experience. I needed to ask for therapy help. I did not know how to manage it. I suffered a catharsis. Society told me it wasn't important. I went to work the following day like it was a normal day. Even friends told me I would be able to get pregnant again. A nonsense. I felt so guilty and so lonely, and I didn't know how to manage that. The miscarriage was 6 weeks, was a biochemic
Okay.
miscarriage.
That's right.
It was not a small time, but very painful. I didn't know the pain was, I think, was hormonal, something in my body, but I was crying for months.
Okay. So then what steps after your miscarriage, what steps did you take to continue the process of growing, a family?
The COVID-19 pandemic came some months later. We were under lockdown for months in Madrid. We stopped searching in 2020 summer to keep our mental health. 1 year after the miscarriage, we went to a fertility clinic to do tests. We asked different doctors about our chance. They told us we would be very rare to get pregnant in a natural way again, because I had only 0.1 ovarian reserve. And they suggested us to do IVF, in vitro fecundation. But it was a miracle. In the end, I got pregnant in a natural way, so I didn't need to begin this fertility process. I guess it would have been very hard too.
Were you scared when you became pregnant this next time, the second time? Were you scared about miscarrying again?
Of course, I was totally scared. I was scared because I wondered if I was going to be able to become a mother with an autoimmune disease. And also, I knew due to factor 5 laden, I could suffer another miscarriage. Fears did not stop anymore. Since that, I live in a constantly, I have a lot of fears. I suffer anxiety. It was very hard. The way has been so hard to me and to my husband too.
Yeah. Yeah. So overall, how did that pregnancy go? I know you had a lot of sickness in that first pregnancy. Did you have that with this pregnancy as well?
Yes, this pregnancy, it was really difficult, so bad. A lot of fears. It was during the pandemic. The situation was really scary. Madrid at that moment was one of the worst place to be. Was most of the time under lockdown. Even in 2021, we were under lockdown. We wasn't allowed to visit Galicia, for example, my hometown. I was supervised by a high-risk team in important public hospital in Madrid, and I had to go alone because at that time my husband wasn't able to go to the hospital because of the pandemic. Fortunately, I also went to private healthcare gynecologist where my husband could see the ultrasound, because you can imagine for a husband not being able to see the ultrasound of his child during the pregnancy. About me vomiting until 28th week, extreme fatigue, one night in the hospital, alone at home in bed every day, in the dark, not being able to eat, to talk, to even prepare meals. I have to take a lot of pills. Injecting heparin was traumatic and so painful. Also, I have hyperosmia, who is an increased olfactory acuity. I have sialorrhea, when you have excessive saliva flow. I needed therapy too again. I cried, I suffered. What doctor said in 38th week, our son was okay. We began to breathe. He was born in the 39th week. I remember the third quarter as the best. At least I could do some of normal life, meeting people, to walk, to have a coffee outdoors, not indoor, because at that moment you couldn't visit a friend, but at least in the park, in a table with a coffee, you know. But it was only in the end of the pregnancy.
Did you know Spoonful of Strength is not just a podcast? We have an Instagram page called Spoonful of Strength where you can see clips of our upcoming episodes, learn about different illnesses, and we share other people's stories. We also have an Etsy shop where you can shop for clothing such as t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies. You can find candles and mugs and tumblers and blankets. You can find it all. We support all chronic illnesses, and the great thing is, if you find a t-shirt in our shop for multiple sclerosis, we can change that for lupus or Ehlers-Danlos or any other illness that you need. Everything is customizable in our shop. Use the code PODCAST for 20% off your entire order.
So you gave birth to a baby boy on July 6, 2021. So tell us about that experience.
It was wonderful and unforgettable experience, much better labor than pregnancy. A good team of doctors in the hospital. My husband could see my son at the moment he was born. I didn't have much pain thanks to epidural. It was a vaginal delivery, a moment very beautiful when I connected with miracle of life and spirituality. And it was very funny because I suffer from keratitis because I wear 4 eye plugs, and because of vomiting, they drop, they fall. So I asked for turning off the lights. I had a strong sore eyes more than contractions. It was like very funny the day of the labor. But it's good memories of that day, at least.
Good. So how are you doing now? How are you feeling with your Sjogren's? How are things going, today?
My worst symptoms today are fatigue and brain fog, especially in the afternoon and nights, dry mouth and dry eyes. Also, I have stomach discomfort normally. I'm trying an anti-inflammatory diet, unless when I stay at home because I work outside home and I have lunch outside. I usually have lunch outside and it's not easy. And in April, I asked my reuma to give up medication because I need a time to stop. Despite of that, at the moment I live a quite normal life, working, taking care of my son. I meet friends whenever I can. I love writing and reading. I am working a lot on myself now with coaching and therapy. But I can say now I live a quite normal life.
Do you have any advice for someone who was just diagnosed with Sjogren's?
Ask for help if you can. I would say that. A therapist can give advice to manage illness. Don't wait like me almost 10 years to call your therapist. And apply for an association. Try to meet people with the same illness. Do not compare with them because Sjogren's effect is in a different way to anybody, but they are the people who can really understand you. In my case, I belong to the Spanish Association, and They help me a lot. Look for things you like, and manage your energy, and prioritize yourself. Manage energy discovery is very important with Sjogren. It's like, maybe you know the spoon theory. So we don't have a lot of spoons every day. So we need to take care of them.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So, where can people find you if they want to find you on Instagram, or just tell us where people can connect with you, because it's done, a world of difference for you to grow a community of people that have an autoimmune disease. So, where can they find you?
I write about my Sjogren in at Madrid Autoimmune on Instagram, sometimes on Twitter, now X, now called X. And I also have a newsletter in Substack, madreautoimmune.substack.com. For people who suffer Sjogren, I also want to say that the Sjogren Spain Association web, w.at.isjogren.org. I can send you later if you want.
Yes.
And with my stories and posts on my Instagram account, I try to answer every private or public message I receive to help people. I understand how a person feels when is diagnosed, how alone you can feel, how lost. So my purpose is trying to help everyone to not feeling alone anymore, always from my experience, and always remember everyone, they need to go to the doctor.
Perfectly said. So, thank you so much for being with us. We learned a lot about Sjogren's. That was something that is, I've seen come up, but I didn't know a lot about it. And so we appreciate you being here. And we will attach all of the links to the episode so people can find you. And we just thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm really grateful you brought me to participate in your podcast.
Tina, what a great episode. What did you think of Rocio?
She is very motivating. I just love with all of our guests that we've had the opportunity to interview have all been very uplifting and motivating.
I thought it was interesting how she talked about she kind of put on a mask of her illness with her friends, and when they ask how she's doing, she would just say okay, but that this community of her having friends on Instagram and being able to be honest and know that they would understand how she was feeling. And that's something that I think we all might go through. I do the same thing when it comes to certain people in my life that just, either they don't get it or they're not, maybe don't understand. It's so much easier just to say, oh, I'm good. Do you experience that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree. For some people, it's just simply, it's easier just to say, oh, no, I'm doing fine, or, I'm doing the best I can, that type of thing, because it can be frustrating to feel not understood.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's not only is it easier, but there's been times, at least in my life, where I said I'm fine because I wasn't fine, and I didn't even want to talk about it because it was weighing so heavily on me that I put on the mask that everything was good. And then, when they're gone or out of sight, then I can kind of go back to, how I'm really feeling and all of that. So we really enjoyed speaking with Rocio today, and we're still interested in hearing from all of you. We're getting a lot of answers on our Instagram questions. Those questions that I put out there are intended to use on our show. So if you want to get involved and with our community, then look out for those questions coming throughout the week, and we'll keep them coming, and your answers could be shared on our podcast. And of course, if you have a story about your illness journey, feel free to send us a DM, and we will get all the information to you. Currently, we're booking out about 6 weeks. So right now, we're looking for people that it would be airing end of July, beginning of August. So again, just send me a DM and we will get you set up. Our next episode next Tuesday is about being a caretaker. And obviously, Tina and I have not been on that side, at least for a chronic illness. And so we're bringing my husband into the discussion. And if you have missed it, my husband is also Tina's brother. So he's going to talk a little bit about his journey being the caretaker of somebody who is dealing with chronic illness. We'll talk a little bit about the pressure of having chronic illness and the effects it can have on a relationship, and just learn a little bit more. So look out for that episode coming next Tuesday. We hope you have a wonderful weekend and looking forward to bringing you more information next week. Take care.